Ronald Weasley.
Ronald Weasley. It's Leviosa. Ah.
Stop.
Oh, Ron, stop.
Stop it, Ron.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the Big Sleep Podcast. It's Ernesto and Nick.
Yeah.
Bueno. Próximo de la Telemundo.
Yo Lobo.
What's up with you today?
Not a whole lot. Just work. Hot topics right now are the California fires, and like every state's looking to see what they can do so that way they can get their claim to fame. But,
Heck yeah. Like some of these states sending in fire trucks and then California making them do emissions testing, which is a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but that is hilarious if they sent a bunch of trucks down and they're like, no,
wait, what?
you need to get an
Yeah.
inspection.
Yeah, we should probably just kick it off by talking about the fire, honestly. Like, it's the hot topic.
Well, let's get to it. California fires are raging. The LA Fire Department seems to be struggling. The mayor went bye-bye to Africa while the fires were raging. The runner-up person who was supposed to be in charge called in bomb threats to City Hall. And now he's being investigated for previous bomb threats that they think may be linked to him as well.
Yeah, that's all news to me.
Yeah.
Good.
How about the looting?
The looting, and then rumor has it that they're dressing like firefighters, a couple of them.
Yeah. I saw that on the news.
Like one fucking person dresses like a firefighter, and then like,
well, and he got caught amongst the looters, and what, the assistant chief or whoever, one of the upper echelon members was walking around and was like, hey, are you good? Because he looked like a firefighter, and I guess he was already in handcuffs because the law enforcement had already arrested him. So
I haven't seen any like actual like photos of this person. Like, all I've seen is AI images of like some rando. Like, honestly, everything I've seen's been AI of like a firefighter with his like hands bound.
Oh, really? I haven't even seen any pictures, but I mean, that on top of the looting, as of yesterday, there were 9 more people charged with looting.
I mean, yeah, that's anticipated. Like, there was looters for the tornado of Nebraska. Like,
yeah,
I fully anticipate.
Well, apparently, of the items, there was a group of 3 that were stealing like hundreds of thousands worth of dollars of product, and an Emmy Award was amongst one of those items.
Oh, that's cool.
So, eat the rich, right?
I mean, like, it is cool that like that person didn't do anything to earn an Emmy, like acting wise, but like maybe acting like a firefighter got them the Emmy.
Yeah. Looks like it's combined burn of 35,000 acres, and they're estimating now, which I don't even know why they're coming out with estimates, but 12,000 structures and at least 25 dead. So,
and some are looters. Like, is there any home defense?
I don't know.
So I kind of think of like what is it, the San Francisco riots or whatever, people like defending their stores and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Biden pretty much came out and said that they're covering 100% of the damages. So I mean, California's not on the hook for any of this. FEMA's given out what, $5,000, I think. I think FEMA disaster relief is $5,000. And people are yelling at FEMA, like, I can't rebuild with that. And it's like, bro, that's not what FEMA's for.
Yeah.
Like, FEMA doesn't have the money to just replace everyone's houses. Speaking of insurance, what do you think about all of these insurers dropping policies out there?
Like before, like a little bit before. I don't know. It was the same way during Katrina though. Like Katrina, like people didn't have wind insurance, and if you had wind insurance and like you didn't have flood insurance, it was like, well, no, the wind pushed the water, and then people were like, what? Uh, yeah, I do. I find that awfully weird. But like I mean, insurance and FEMA, like these people are gonna have to live somewhere in the meantime. And like during Katrina, like people had to park trailers on their empty lots once their lot was empty.
Well, and some of those lots, they weren't even allowed to start cleaning up until like 3 years later
Yeah.
because of all of the red tape. Um, yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like the FEMA stuff, you can use that to like get a hotel or whatever, or, get a flight somewhere. Um, but yeah, I mean, Mexico sent up firefighters. I think they were going to activate some National Guard members as well.
Wait, Mexico or Cali?
Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, in Santa Monica, they've chased at least 150 people from evacuation zones, 42 arrests, tons of burglary tools. I mean, you name it, it was out there. Drugs, warrants, parole, probation violations. Um, but I mean, this is the crop that you reap when you sow this type of lead up.
I think that's the weirdest part about all this is like how does a city catch on fire? Like I'm so confused. I can understand like maybe a couple neighborhoods, whether it's eucalyptus plants, palm, things that like kind of can generate like oils and like flammable or a little bit more flammable. But I don't understand how like the city catches on fire. Like that's what's getting like how come all of New York didn't burn down during 9/11?
Well,
Steel beams.
I mean, controlled environment. No, but like on that topic, you saw the video of that citizen's arrest of that dude running around with a blowtorch trying to like light people's garbage on fire and stuff.
Yeah.
So they got him, they found him or whatever, and uh, take a guess. He has a huge record. He is an illegal immigrant from
Same.
Mexico. Yep. Um, and he was taken into custody for has a probation violation. That's why they took him into custody. So he hasn't even been charged with the arson. Um, so I guess I don't know. We'll see if ICE comes in and grabs him. But I don't think ICE is thinking they're going to be able to get in because California is a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, what's new? I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Their policies over there are so weird. I I find it just absolutely comical that like their policies will lead to the Republic of California again, you know?
I It's getting bad. I can't stand watching any of the interviews with any of the governmental bodies of California, but
Dude, Gavin Newsom is the most obnoxious. I did watch that video, and how absolutely comical. Like he's just a bad speaker, but he says or he gets asked like how come or like what if this investigation is going to be on you guys? Like he's like I launched the investigation, yada yada, and they're like yeah, but aren't you worried essentially the investigation is going to they point out the flaws of like California, and he's like, "No, like I launched the investigation." Like,
yeah.
it's like you can't like preemptively launch an investigation to get yourself out of it. Like, this is a huge failure on your part.
Well, yeah, I mean, one, he seems like a super pretentious dude, and he does these weird like took a bunch of classes on how to move his hands, and it's just
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Like he feels like he has to do a bunch of stuff. Um, I don't know if you saw it, but he was like he kind of got on Elon Musk about uh oh, Elon's encouraging people to loot because Musk made a tweet saying that he essentially had decriminalized it in California. And he's like, it's it's always been illegal. You know, they're going to be arrested and prosecuted. And it's like, well, that's not what I remember.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you get all these different counties or whatever. People steal something in one area and thinking they're in another, and they don't think they're going to get prosecuted or arrested. Like Orange County.
What do you think of this like weird utopia that we live in where like people like Elon Musk are like absolutely idolized?
Uh, I mean, that seems like a presumptive question. I don't think that we're in a utopian world.
Well, I feel like he is like Hunger Games, you know?
Yeah, like idolizing Musk.
I mean, either way, yeah, a lot of people like look up to like him and like a higher class or classism, and like
Yeah,
it doesn't really make sense to me why so many people value like his opinion. He's a smart guy. I wouldn't say he's an absolute like genius.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's. I think this whole like utopian concept and idolizing a greater figure gets taken a little out of context when people relate or look up to somebody, but they are surrounded by um, controversy. To now, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, that's so weird that you look up to this guy. Like, I don't think anyone worried about it when he was starting SpaceX or, you know, popping out electric vehicles. People weren't shitting on him until he essentially put out his political beliefs. And then all of a sudden, you know, big veil of controversy. And now if you're associated with him, it's a problem and blah, blah, blah. I just think that it's convenient, like the timeline on that.
Well, I think he's shifted himself to be more of a businessman, entrepreneur, like billionaire to like political figure, social figure, and he's used X to kind of like platform himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can get behind that. But I guess, does that make it negative that people look up to him?
I don't think I don't think everyone looks up to him. Like you hop on Reddit, which is like a leftist echo chamber, uh they hate that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's
the
me.
people that I hear complaining about him, I have yet to, you know, have a discussion where I hear some objectively true, you know, negatives. Like, again, if you don't believe in the political alignment or you don't believe in XYZ, it's like, okay, I can understand that. But they're getting a little aggressive with some of the verbiage about how they feel, and I'm not getting a whole lot of content. I'm getting a whole lot of feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's entitled to the same freedom of speech, but he unfortunately has a little bit more influence than your average bear. And so when it comes to things like H1B, then like he is going to try to influence it in a way that benefits him and his properties the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to take a outside looking in approach to some of this stuff, and it's like anybody could be influential that does or does not deserve it anywhere. I mean, 90% of commercials now are like these TikTok influencers and bullshit that I don't have any connection with, but they're being plastered on TV and internet ads and whatever. And it's like, okay, I mean, that person has influence and a following, whether it's big or small, when it might be less appropriate for them than someone else to have that level of influence, but I don't think that changes anything. I mean, that's part of the absolutist freedom of speech, argument, is if you're going to argue for freedom of speech and freedom of press and all that stuff, you can't really be upset when someone gains more influence over someone else, because then it just sounds like you're trying to advocate for equity. And I don't. I think that's a futile uphill battle.
Yeah, I feel like press and like medias can be like monopolized though.
Yeah. But I mean, in the same sense, personal influence can be monopolized. So
Yeah,
what then?
I think that there's a huge shift right now where like people are exhausted from and I mean I have YouTube Shorts and Instagram, so it's pretty much like TikTok, but I've never had TikTok actual. But it sounds like people are exhausted from that, like the brain drain and the like overly oh god, what's the word for it? Like the dopamine hit, like the overly energetic YouTube and TikTok, and they're leaning more towards genuine like
Right.
influencers, like people that don't want to show up looking like a zebra and wearing Gucci and then tell you that like the man's keeping them down.
Yeah. I mean, people are starting to become a little bit more aware of the uh, pandering, I think, and the virtue signaling. Um, you know, some of us were or saw right through that right away, and others hopped on the bandwagon and got them to rise to fame and make buku bucks while they complain about their financial stresses as XYZ, member of what minority. Um,
Yeah, the broccoli hair kids did it too, though. Like the over the top,
yeah.
like YouTube, like, "What's up, guys? Today we're going to bounce a freaking bowling ball off a trampoline." Like, all
Yeah.
right,
I was watching that interview of the like Gaza survivor. It was this female, and she's on stage talking to this UCLA fucking broccoli haircut, not knowing what fucking real life is, dude. And
yeah,
she's like, "Have you ever been to Israel?" And he just wouldn't say anything. She's like, "Okay, have you ever been to Gaza? What is your idea of what a Palestinian is?" And he just sat there. And it's like, how the fuck are you giving me this opinion? Like, I can be an outsider and read into all of this stuff and form an opinion.
Yeah.
And then if someone comes along and is like, hey, in 2000 and whatever, I was in Gaza and this is what happened while I was there, you're not going to see me arguing and refuting those those statements
Yeah.
if I wasn't there or I had no connection to it.
I mean, I'm still gonna take it at face value because, like, man, people lie. But yeah,
Right.
I know what you're saying. Like, based on their
It'd have
your
to be
judge of
off the
character of
wall.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Speaking of H-1B, first of all, H-1B is the employer sponsored work visas. And before anyone gets bent out of shape, we're like one of the very few countries that does not have some form of gateway to getting a work visa. You look at the rest of the Western nations, and it's like you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, and not even that. I mean, it can be lower than that, like lower level engineering, that type of stuff. Um, like you need to have a bachelor's degree, for example, or whatever. So I guess, what are your thoughts on it? And if you have any problems with it, let's hear them.
Uh, I think my thoughts on it come from like my principles and my morals, and my social values. Like it all begins with like nationalism and like America first. I believe that uh, there is going to be a huge culture swing here soon, and that part of that should be that if there's a void in jobs like this, because we are essentially fluffing up the companies with temporary employment that you could essentially treat like first world slave labor, because you could fire them and send them home at any time and hold that over them, and if they're here with their family's heads, then I'm against it. I think that um the pathway to a more successful country is going to be uh to create a system where people could be if this is the system that works, because Americans aren't smart enough to fill in some of these jobs, then there needs to be a pathway for immigration with it.
Well, there is. It's a dual intent program.
I think it's a non-immigration retire like or tied like it's tied to the visa.
Yeah, but you can use that towards your permanent citizenship.
Right.
And I guess I understand where you're coming from, but anybody who's a member of like Right to Work or anything like that, anybody can be fired for any reason without notice. I don't think that there's going to be special privilege to the H-1Bs, but guess what? There are. Um, they I don't know. I don't see a downside to it. They have to be paid the same as someone who has similar experience or qualifications. Um, they have to be paid for times that they can't work due to the employer. So, like, if the company shuts its doors for a few days because of something or whatever, um, or there's a strike, for example, they would still have to be paid. They get health insurance, retirement, all of that stuff. They can't push out U.S. employees in favor for H-1B members. Um, I mean, they can't be discriminated by their origin to get their H-1B visa. And there's a retaliation clause where, similar to like if you worked in a state that didn't have, right to work, or you can't just be fired for no reason, there would be some type of recourse uh, for that. And they could file a retaliation suit or whatever. So I think it's a good idea. That's my opinion. Like I said, almost any other country you want to go to, you're going to have that requirement. You can't go to Germany or Japan or uh, any of the Scandinavian countries or whatever on a like permanent or long-term work visa without having some type of credentials. And like I said, I think we're kind of behind the curve on this. And that's not to say that that's degrading our normal naturalization process. This is just another method to have something that, you know, you're providing to the country. Like, I would not expect to go to Japan, for example, with no plan on a career, and I would heavily expect to be questioned when applying for some type of work residency. Like, what are you going to bring to this country? Because I would definitely see me not getting approved if I didn't have any benefit. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that's for. So
Think
I,
about immigrants. Sorry.
well, I was just gonna say I find it ironic. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because I think these rights should be afforded to all Americans first. But the rights and protections of H-1B are actually a little bit more inclusive and forgiving than a lot of states' workers' rights. So I guess I just don't see the downside to that.
I think the difference is that like if you're in it, yeah, anyone can be fired, but if you're fired from Southern California and you are from India, then like you better hope to lock down another visa in town or like you're going back to India.
Yeah, but
And
I guess what's the problem with that?
well, that's my thing is like, yeah, like essentially they would need to go. Like, if you are not performing, then you need to go back. But I think the difference is that like companies do the same thing that they do everywhere else. They see their stocks go high for borderline no reason because a CEO overpromised something, and or because they made one decent product and it's inflated, and then they hire a bunch of employees. Twitch is a great example um of a company that just like has blown up. Same thing with like Nvidia and Twitter at the time. And they bring in um like all these new people, uh and then if it was me, if I was the businessman, I'd fill it full of H1Bs. And then you're
Well,
just like,
the irony there is all of the companies that you listed are uh, pandering liberal organizations that are taking advantage of this program, which I think is funny.
yeah,
But here's the deal: we had millions of people crossing the border illegally that we are now trying to figure out how to handle the housing crisis, the financial crisis, the uh, stretching of resources for emergency services. H-1B, as I understand it, is going to be like 65,000 visas a year. So we're talking like peanuts compared to what's been happening. And that's not including the standardized naturalization at our border crossings and our citizenship, applications, our military service um, citizenship. Like, I just, I don't know. I think H-1B is a lot less impactful than what's being said, and the impact that it does have I think is beneficial because it's incentivizing people that have a bachelor's degree that can produce something to join the economy And not only that, they're guaranteed protections of having those benefits that a lot of, like, you could get a job tomorrow that has no benefits and you're a US citizen, but someone can apply for a work visa and get all of the benefits, have like a minimum salary of 60K a year, and they're going to be better off than, as you were talking about, in a few episodes prior, someone in North O that has a Dollar General and that's the only place that they can get hired within a 10-mile radius. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I think the argument that US first is contradicted when there's a lot of finger pointing to H1B, I guess. It's like, which is it?
I'm usually torn between like 2 points because, like, I mean, America, a country, founded on like immigration and like a mass flood of people, um, and murder. But the other part of it is like I feel like H1B and legal and illegal immigration are all part of like the same like at least in the business aspect, like people are capital, and like we need people, we need people to do the jobs. And right now, like, your average American citizen, that isn't me, is not populating America. Like, they're not having kids, they can't afford to have kids, they don't want to have kids.
Uh,
uh
yeah.
and the people who are having kids maybe shouldn't be, and the people who should be just aren't, and who could afford it are not. And whereas I think that if a natural born citizen landed this job in one way or another and either trained into it or received the formal education, instead of that same position, sitting at a school as a immigration, or not immigration, oh god, what's it called, foreign exchange, then and like essentially like the school's overpriced, but they're going to offer foreign exchange for a reasonable price. I think that this would be an opportunity for that natural born citizen to like to progress
Yeah. So,
and
yeah,
have
on
more
on
kids.
on that note, I mean, and that's the other thing is, if there's a lot of duality here, right? So we want, or I guess a lot of people want, open flow immigration or very low uh, cost of entry immigration and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if we're saying that we need people to work, I'm on board with that. Our unemployment is rough at times, but I think this goes back to what we talked about. I don't know how many episodes prior, when I said, if you fix like the first couple steps in what led up to this problem, just like before, I think you'd have a lot more people entering the workforce and actually providing some value to the country if there wasn't a cop out way to get welfare, get food stamps, get Section 8 housing, and then do nothing.
Right.
I mean, think of that would put you in a position where it's like, oh, well, now I have to work. Okay. So these lower skill labor stuff and more just labor positions would be filled, which is going to increase the likelihood that higher skilled based stuff is going to be created, which would allow some of these people that are going. Another thing is we have overcrowded colleges. I mean, we have more people coming out of colleges with degrees and or worthless degrees that aren't available in the workplace, those positions. So you're forced to, take these non-related labor jobs or something, for example. So, I mean, I already saw that. I don't know if it's real or not, but it's kind of a trending topic right now. But a lot of these people on food stamps are getting letters that they have to pay back, thousands of dollars because all these people that are posting videos of themselves, like buying stuff with food stamps and how they're abusing them,
Mm.
they're getting reported, and the food stamp agency or whatever is essentially sending them notifications that, hey, you owe the last 8 months worth of food stamps, and here's a payment option if you can't afford it. And people are posting them online, like bitching about it. Like there was this one chick who, I don't know what the backstory was, but she admitted, she's like, I buy a bunch of soda with food stamps, and then she went outside in the Walmart parking lot and was dumping them all out, like in the parking lot. And someone called the police, and now she's getting charged with like fraud.
Mm.
So whatever the backstory is there, but it's like, that's, duh. I don't feel bad.
I've been on unemployment. It's not easy. You don't get to coast for free. Like there's frequent checkups, and like you have to verify that you've submitted
Those
X
checkups
amount of
are
application. Like you have
those
to
checkups are
legit
bullshit, dude.
you have to like legit show that you've applied for jobs. And at first it's like, hey, like you need to apply for one job this week. And then the next week it's like you need to apply for two jobs. The week after it's like you need to apply for three. Like they.
I still don't fuck with here. I have first world experience with this. When I was managing a retail store, I would have people come in, and I'd get a call on the radio like, "Hey, can we have a manager up front?" And I would be walking up there, and I'd see the person lock eyes with me, and they'd have a paper in their hand. And when I'd walk up, they would literally throw the paper at me, turn around, and walk out the door. And guess what it
And
was?
that was their application.
That was their application. And so when they'd say, "Hey, whatever office I applied at this location today," well, guess what? They'd call me, and I'd be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. Have a nice day. Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
That's bullshit. And as far as maybe to you, they, you know, check up on you because you have an internal monologue when someone calls and like, "Hey, you need to apply for 2 this week." Your mindset tells you, "Yeah, I really need to get on this. I need to put in 2 applications." But the problem is you're giving everybody else way too much credit because they don't think that way. They're like, "Oh, I have to
I
put two in," and I'm not kidding you. It was maybe 3 or 4 times a month someone would come in and just whip an application at me or leave it at the front desk and not tell anyone what it was, and they want us to
I,
file
I
it.
didn't do the system perfectly either. Like I applied for jobs that I knew I wouldn't get. Uh I mean, honestly,
Right.
I applied for a dealership, and on the front of the application, I put my airborne certificate. Yeah, dude. I was like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
You know what makes me certified to restock your warehouse, Toyota? I jumped out of an airplane one time.
My knees are bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I like it's just I don't there is no it's impossible to follow up with the amount of people that are on these programs. So being told like, hey, they check up on you and keep an eye on you. No, they fucking don't. You're a number on their sheet, their Excel spreadsheet that they need to call for the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And you either have a green box or a red box, whether you got hired or not. And they just call all
Yeah.
the red boxes. But nothing outside of that's happening.
It's supposed to be more personable than that. They're supposed to call and be like, "Hey, like, are they going to get an interview, etc." And so, yeah, if you had a instance where you're like, "No, this son of a bitch threw they told me to kick rocks as they handed me the application," then like that's where that form's supposed to go
Well,
for him.
And yeah, I had a lot of bad experience, especially as someone who dealt with like the hiring and firing process. I mean, I had a dude who applied for my location, and he showed up 40 minutes late, and I was already on to the next task that I had. I had to follow a strict schedule with my time, right? I worked 50 to 60 hours a week, and almost all of that time was allocated in these blocks that I would lay out in a calendar so that I could get it all done. And he walks in, and I'm literally like halfway through my next task already. And he's like, "Well, I'm here for that interview." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, man, but I'm in the middle of something else now." Well, I thought it over for a minute. I found someone else to cover what I was doing. I was like, "Listen, I'll give you the interview, but, you know, I'm not happy about this." And I got one of the workers at the front desk, what at my location, I guess, was cousins with this guy who applied. And while I was in their interview, called in and reported me for like being racist or whatever because this guy was black. Okay.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't even know how that plays into this at all, but I interview the guy. He spends the first 10 minutes explaining to me that he didn't know that there was road construction. So it kind of threw him off getting to the interview or whatever. Well, here's the kicker. This guy didn't realize I recognized him. He worked at the building that was attached to ours, one door over. And I'm like, so you didn't know about the construction that's been going on for the last 2.5 months when I've seen you at the other store 10 feet from here, like every other day for the last year and a half? And he's like, oh. And I'm like, okay. Needless to say, didn't get hired. And then I had to have this whole discussion with HR, whatever. And I'm like, they were asking me all these questions, and I was like, can I just stop you and ask right now, what is it that was reported where I said, did, or implied something that was discriminatory? They had nothing. And I was like, okay, can we end this conversation then? They're like, yep. What are you talking about? I don't care who you are. I don't care if I was hiring a supervisor or a manager spot or whatever. I can handle 5-10 minutes late if you're genuine. You're like, hey man, I really did not think it was going to be this bad over here or whatever. Like, obviously in my head I'm still thinking get here early, you know
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't play that game. I almost never. I actually made an exception to give him an interview when I normally wouldn't have. So I don't want to hear it. I just don't. I
Well,
don't do this. I don't deal with that bullshit.
he didn't get the job.
No. And I found out that he was getting fired from the other location because he would never show up to work. So
Well, if you'd hired a H-1B immigrant, you'd have been way better off.
I mean, potentially, yeah,
Or H-1B that becomes an H-1B visa.
yeah. So I don't know. That's all I got on H1B. I think I think it's a small program that got made into a mountainous issue. And again, we're one of the last countries, especially like first world countries, that doesn't have some type of program like this in place. So,
I don't know. I just want to get back to the standard of living where both people in a household don't have to work.
for real.
I, yeah, I think that someone should be afforded to be the caregiver and then to still be able to have like a pretty normal life.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that part of that, hey, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I am a Trump supporter, right? If it's not evident already, but if he doesn't, in him and his party, like are the people he surrounded himself with. If they don't do some of this shit that they're saying, I'm be so pissed,
Oh,
man.
yeah. It's
Like
gonna be the
like
downfall for this
yeah,
momentum.
I will never vote Republican again if they don't do some of this shit, man. I want to see fucking
Don't go that
uh
far.
no, I'm serious. Like I want to see food like with labels on it. Like the nutritional facts need to be on the front of the box. And kind of like what they're already saying they're gonna do. I want to see them ban fucking GMOs, ban like every single color of unnatural dye, like anything that's like ban it all, man. Ban pesticides, like neonic pesticides.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just food. I think next we should get rid of everything that's made in China, starting with Diablo. Or not
Yeah.
Diablo, but maybe Path of Exile. Marvel Rivals, goodbye.
Well,
Uh, 10 anything made by Tencent, gone.
TikTok,
TikTok, goodbye.
what are your thoughts on that? Have you read up on the, TikTok stuff?
Now, like I said, I've been alright with getting rid of TikTok since the beginning, though. Like, just like all these like gaming's taken over. I think we should talk about this too. Like gaming's taken over by China. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but like once China owns MMOs, which they already got a couple, but they're not
Yeah.
like the king of MMOs. Once they own that, I'm pretty sure they own the best game in every category.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've been listening to the arguments for the TikTok ban, and I think TikTok's lawyer is making a good point. I don't think it's going to be. I don't know, man. I do think, regardless of what your opinions about the Chinese government and all this other stuff are, the irony is all of this stuff is public domain things that you are posting that anyone could access on any platform, and it doesn't matter. And by banning a public domain style app is a direct attack on the First Amendment. That's my opinion. And you have all these dumbasses that are switching to like I've seen Lemon 8, that's one of them, also owned by ByteDance. So again, I don't understand what so you're moving off of a platform that they're naming to ban because it's owned by ByteDance, but they're not banning Lemon 8, which is also owned by ByteDance, that everyone's switching to. And then these people were putting out memes like, this was a joke, by the way, or at least that's how I saw it, but this whole Red Note thing is another platform um, where people were saying, "Hey, let's everybody move to Red Note to get out of the Communist Party, whatever." Like that one's actually owned by, like, fully operating in China, and people are moving over to that. And now there's like flooded with videos of all of these influencers like learning Mandarin and talking about how nice the Chinese people are, like
That's all propaganda.
welcoming us to the platform and all this other stuff. So it's like, A, you stop fucking with it, or B, you fuck with it, but the ends better justify the means. Is the remedy going to be more destructive than just leaving it alone? And I think that point was proven and will be proven over the course of the next couple months.
I don't think so. I mean, first off, I don't think that TikTok is like it's a private company. And so and like
Yeah, but it's
kind
a
like
public
anything that you
forum.
post on there. Yeah, but anything you post on there is automatically like owned by TikTok to some extent. Like it is their property. It is on their servers or whatever.
Based
Like I
on their
don't think you have any
policy,
like
but YouTube can do
intellectual
that.
rights.
X could
Yeah,
do that if they wanted to. I mean,
right.
so
But
what's
here's my thing. It's like it's a Chinese company. Like
okay?
this is where I dig. I've watched other other people talk about this like on YouTube, And that's where I get lost. Like other people say, like, compare the logic to something else that isn't China or TikTok. Then they're like, it's absolutely outlandish that you would block something. And I'm like, no. If Australia was coming out of left field and uh buying highways or trying to purchase highways in our country, constantly doing propaganda, stealing property, like intellectual property off of like absolutely everything and cloning it and like it's
I think those are two very different arguments, though. Can you provide an example that would be relatable to TikTok and how it functions to something else that wouldn't be Chinese that you'd be opposed to?
that wouldn't be China. No, I'm against China in general. I think that we should block everything from China, and I think we should tax the ever living fuck out of their trade too. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. You know what? We should have TikTok, but it should cost China like billions. Like,
Yeah.
we should just absolutely charge them through the roof to
But
where like it wouldn't even benefit them for.
do you at least see the implications on banning something like this in the public domain realm as an infringement of the First Amendment, or do you not agree with that?
Now, I mean, we could stand up something almost identical overnight.
We
Vine,
could. Why not?
Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Shorts, like the list goes on.
Yeah, but why doesn't someone just do it then? It's a free market.
Because I mean, it's the same thing as like the US government declaring that Riot is like militarized. Like, if there is a chance that there is spyware or anything, or I don't know, when you sign up to TikTok, I assume you have to make an account. It's going to have personal information, or at least your email.
Yeah,
Like,
same thing that
honestly,
any other application would ask for.
US based company though.
No. A lot, see, that's the other thing is a lot of apps are not US based and they're used all the time. A lot of the coding process that goes for apps is third party that are overseas or outsourced. Anybody has access. I mean, even US based companies that hire third party contractors to write code and all this other stuff are able to have influence on an algorithm. And I would almost argue, and I'm not saying I want China to have my information, I'm on board with that. But I'm almost more skeptical of a US based company having my information on file because look at the inverse of this, right? If you're in another country and you use a US based app, the US has your data and that company is subject to the court orders, subpoenas, and legislation of the US. And it's like that's just as bad. I mean, a lot of VPN providers like that'd be like arguing that we shouldn't have VPN providers like Nord and all these other ones that operate in minor islands so that they are not beholden to US legislation, so that the government can't come in and be like, hey, you have to give me this guy's IP address and all the sites that he's been to. Especially as a VPN company, they're like, we don't want to adhere to that. So you're beholden to the rules and regulations of where you're operating out of. And I just honestly, between my information being accessible between US or China, I don't really see one above the other, to be honest with you. I'm not saying that I want either to have my information. I think it's neither here nor there. And you agree that everything that you post publicly that's in public domain is accessible by anyone, and the basic services that are required to have that application function are also required if you want to partake. Access to your camera when using it, access to locational data when you're doing something that has to do with location, access to your network information, at a minute level when you connect to your home Wi-Fi. These are all vulnerabilities, and I just don't think that people understand how that process works. Like one of the senators was asking um, the CEO or whatever of TikTok, like when or like, oh, you go through our stuff, that's kind of creepy. And he's like, well, no. He's like, if you post a video, that gets added to the algorithm, and that's like everything that's posted is processed. And he's like, so you're going through people's personal stuff? And he's like, no, it's public domain. Like you're posting it. And then they get into another dual-edged sword where they're bitching about something that doesn't make sense. It's like, well, how, like now you have everyone's age and all this other stuff, and they're like, well, we're a front-based age verification, as in we put the age that you tell us you are for verification that you're old enough to use the app. And they're like, oh, so you have no verification if kids are on there then? And they're like, not really. They're like, we go off of what you say and you agree that it's the truth, but like we have a algorithm that will look at your public profile picture and look at like the videos you post and stuff like that to see if it makes sense. And he's like, oh, that's kind of creepy. That's kind of creepy. And it's like, what? You're the one who was just bitching about it. They didn't have anything else in play. Like these guys couldn't give an example of what they want. They'll just bitch about all the things they don't like, but have no remedy for any of it. TikTok even said, if you want us to put a disclaimer that says, hey, we're a portion of our company is owned by the Chinese government, that pops up every time you open TikTok. They're like, we'll do that. But it's like, people are still going to agree to it. And I agree with that argument. It's either you agree to the terms or you don't. And the biggest argument that these anti-TikTok prosecutors are saying, if you listen to their oral arguments, they're hilarious. They don't have anything. They're just saying, well, the fear is that we don't know. Like we don't know the algorithm, and maybe it's not bad now, but in 10 years they might start pushing out like a leaning direction to a political party or something like that. And it's like, that's your argument, is you're afraid that someday they're going to push you towards a political party? It's like, do you know anything about CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, CBS? I'm like, they make decisions every day on how they're going to take a story and clip it out and present it to the public. I'm like, that's almost more nefarious and more impactful than fucking TikTok.
You remember like I mean, this is about a decade ago when Fitbits mapped out a whole fob in like Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And then like next thing you know, it was like no one can have Fitbits, or
So they went after Fitbit, right?
smartwatches.
Yeah.
Smartwatches were coming out at the time, and I don't know if like Fitbit's a U.S. based company or not.
Google. It's Google.
It is Google. Oh, maybe I don't know if it was at the time. Maybe they bought them out later, but
Well, they
or if it
partnered with
was
them. I
the
don't
whole
know.
time. But yeah, and that opened us up. You know, like the whole base got mapped out almost immediately. So in my opinion, if and I can almost assume since every app asks for location services, if a China-based app asks for location services, then like I don't want them to have that.
Then don't
You
get
know,
exactly. And I agree with you 100%. Also, Fitbit was founded in 2007 in California. It's always been in the US.
there you go.
But there's another example. You're talking about it, it has nothing to do with the company. It's the service that you as a consumer are requesting to have. You buy a Fitbit because you want to track your steps and see how many stairs you climb today. That requires fucking locational telemetry. And if you agree to have that tracking so that you can get your fucking how many calories did I burn, That's a risk you're going to take. And if you don't know anything about technology, first of all, that you don't even have to know about basic technology to know that in order to track locations and distance traveled, you need to have fucking location. And if your
Mhm.
argument is like, I don't want them to have that, I agree with you. If you, I would not feel comfortable with them having certain data. So guess what? You don't fucking use that feature. Like my network, my home network, blocks almost all telemetry data. You know how annoying that is sometimes when I search something in a search engine and the first thing on the search engine is like, oh, here's an article, but it's sponsored. So when you click on it, I can't view it. I have to find the actual article because I have that telemetry blocked, or the shop icons at the top of search bars. I type in a product, I see the picture and the price, I go to click on it, can't click on it because there's telemetry data. It's like I take certain actions so that that information is not used to feed me ads later on, but that's something that I have to bear. You know what I mean? I don't like saying something or searching something, and then on my phone, I get an ad for it. And all these people are like, they must be listening, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, you don't know how fucking your brain works. You've looked at a video that has leaned you in the direction of a product, okay? You think about that product, and it serves you more ads. That's how it works. Or you search something, shows you more ads. You go on Amazon and there's something in your suggested and you hover over it too long or you click on it. Now it's going to be in your ads. If you're not comfortable with that, first of all, stop being such a fucking consumer. Or secondly, read a book and turn that shit off. Personalized ads. You can turn off personalized ads for almost every single app, including TikTok, including Google, YouTube, you name it. There's pretty much always going to be a data and privacy portion where you can turn all of that stuff off.
Well, the difference is if Fitbit or YouTube or Meta uh essentially infringed on my rights, or or the rights of like uh the US population. Again, I don't really care about anyone else. Um then they're beholden to the US government, whereas TikTok is not. Like they're attending these
I agree.
trials,
I agree.
and that is for a monetary value,
Yeah.
which is either ad revenue and intellectual property. And
So the
I'm not
infringement,
I'm not an Intel guy, but I am willing to bet. I mean, the same thing that China did. And I fucking hate China, so I mean, I'll just be blunt about that. But it's the same thing they did with like, was it Hisense cameras or whatever? Or I can't remember the name of the brand. But almost every single webcam, home security camera, to include like some that were set up on like federal installations, had back doors
mm-hmm.
in them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't fucking trust any of these dudes, man. Fuck
infringements
them.
on my rights for ad revenue is nothing compared to what the US government infringes daily that you don't know about.
I mean, hold on. Like, I'm cool with that though. Like, I'm not exactly out here looking at like CP or doing any like the US looking at me is like chef's kiss for me. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They might they might have to see me, you know,
Sweating,
fucking all sweaty. Yeah.
fucking honey
But
mustard all over your body.
they're like, this is the third time today.
Meanwhile, the guy
But
watches
yeah.
like, that's rookie numbers right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, there's certain things where there should be protections, and I 100% agree with them, especially for national security. And then there's ones that are just like, oh, TikTok's making bank and we're not. Let's make a US based company and let's uh, ruin this company so that some fucker can monopolize it here. I mean, that's been the history of the US since prior to the Industrial Revolution. A lot of our technology and petroleum based stuff, products, have snuffed out all other forms of technology because it was a financial damage to the company that was in charge. So, anyway, I want to talk about honey, but
Uh,
I think you should talk about honey because I've done enough talking and I think you're probably a little more aware of the whole situation more than I am.
I'm 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 not. I've never had honey. I think last time we talked about it, you said you did. But what do I
Yeah.
have here? It's like Honey is an app that is advertised as an extension that will automatically search coupon codes for you when you are doing online shopping. Uh, there's investigations into the extension, and they're not as honest as what they were saying. If you click on an affiliate link from a creator to buy something, they will sometimes get credit or commission for your purchasing that item. However, if you scan it with Honey, Honey will reload the web page so that way they get the commission. Um, and then number two here it says Honey will say that we scoured the internet and found 5 codes for you, but they didn't. Uh, what is actually happening is that the seller of the item chooses what coupon codes Honey can use, and you're more than likely just going to get like whichever one that was available, and there might be better ones online. Like so, they might give you a percentage of a
So
percentage.
they have like a list, a white list of
Yeah.
codes they can use. Yeah.
Um, and then like obviously the biggest issue is that Honey duped a lot of big creators.
Duh.
I think Linus was in on it. Moist Critical was in on it. Um, gosh, I'm sure there's a list of people out there who've gosh, what's the African American dude that does the tech stuff?
Yeah. Um, M1H or something. I can't remember what his name is.
California based dude, I thought. But
Yeah. But like,
um
big surprise. Honestly,
yeah,
Mr. Beast had it. A lot of the
Mr. Beast.
kid show, like Science Dude guy, had it too. But I mean, it's Marquise Brown. I can't remember his channel name, but that's the guy you're talking about, Brownlee or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
He's from the US, right?
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I don't because that's owned by PayPal, right, honey?
I'm not sure who exactly owns them.
Yeah.
American YouTuber. I thought it
So
was.
here's the deal. I don't use affiliate link stuff. Like if someone's like doing a product placement and they're like, click the link and get 10% off. I don't do it. I just go to the
Yeah.
website because I have this weird complex, I guess, where I don't want to use that stuff. But yeah, like the technological side of it is you click that affiliate link. That affiliate link is mapped to that person's ad account, and then they get the kickback for anything that's sold. So if they give you a 10% off discount, maybe they get 5 to 7% or whatever as a kickback. But yeah, I did see that when you use the Honey extension browser, it will open up a new tab in the background and your URL will change
Yeah.
to Honey's affiliate link. So then when you buy that product, um, you essentially are giving the kickback to Honey, and some of those cookies on your web browser will stay on there. Like Honey or the seller might give a 30-day thing. So let's say you click someone's affiliate link, you look at it or add it to your cart or something, but don't do anything with it. If you come back, say 20 days later, and you end up buying it, the affiliate entertainer still gets that kickback, because obviously you got them looking at that product. Well, the same probably goes for Honey, um, where it stores that data, which almost all of my browsers I run incognito with no cookies and whatever, like all the time. So I don't have like search history, and I can't, again, it's another form of telemetry stuff that I just don't want. And it definitely hinders my convenience. Like, what did I look at yesterday? Don't remember, But I mean, there's potentially tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that could have been siphoned off from people with this. So you never know.
Yeah, big. It sounds like it was a big company. I mean, they afford a lot of advertising, obviously,
Yeah.
and I just think it's a weird double down that they like not only were they scraping some off the top, but like they were convincing curators to like sell their selves out essentially. Like,
Yeah.
hey, advertise our stuff, and then like we're gonna not only that, we're gonna steal your ad revenue.
Yeah. Well, it says here the class action lawsuit is claiming over $5 million in damages
And for just that one person,
for the class
or is
action.
that
So
like
everybody,
across?
anybody
Okay,
who's, yeah. Yeah.
that's not as bad as I thought.
Well, and PayPal's already saying we dispute the allegations. We'll defend against it vigorously. Uh, and then Gas Up Honey provides millions of shoppers with additional savings. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I think this brings up a good topic for next time, and maybe it's not that cool, but it's interesting to me. Is the dollar store practice? Like, dollar stores are making a rise up, and they have some very predatory practices with like their portions, and like what you were talking about with labels. Like, even Walmart shows you price per ounce or price per unit. Like, these dollar stores don't, and sometimes the products are more expensive. And I don't know. I think it's interesting, because some communities, the only option they have are like these dollar stores.
Great. Dollar General.
Dollar General, Dollar Tree,
Yeah.
Family Dollar. Like, oh,
Dude,
I
I
think it'd
haven't been
be,
inside a dollar store in a long time.
well, we just got to Five Below.
Oh, nice. The fancy dollar store.
Yeah, I literally could not have cared less, but everybody else in the house is like, we gotta go. We gotta go check it out. I'm like, well, look at this. A cube.
I worked with a girl who bought a Roomba from Five Below. And so yeah, robot vacuum. Dude, that thing went straight at the wall, and then all it did was this. Like it didn't do like minor turns. It just kept punching the wall, and I was
Like your
like,
uncle.
hell yeah. You know?
She name it Kyle.
Yeah.
Put a monster sticker on there.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
Yeah, I mean, I could just drop a one-liner that Elon Musk isn't a pro gamer.
I read that too. I've seen some of the videos. Um
More of that disingenuine shit.
yeah. I'd be interested to look into that. I saw a couple of videos and articles on it, but I haven't really looked into it. The timing is definitely sus.
Dude, not the time he played. Like, this is what I wish. He could get out of it all if he's just like, I'm a billionaire. Like, I bought the account. But he did not level up a hardcore Path of Exile character. Like, he doesn't have the time. I mean, no one has the time. And he's just, like, he didn't even know how to play the damn character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Either way, he stepped into like a very niche space, thinking that like maybe there was some like street cred to gain. But
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think he plays video games.
yeah,
But yeah, I'd be interested to dig into that a little bit, take a look.
but now it's created like a void. Whereas like Diablo 4 is a shit game, so everyone believes that like, oh yeah, he could be top 20 in Diablo 4 because like it's just trash, that's believable. But
Yeah.
now the Path of Exile Fallout is making everyone say like, yeah, like he probably didn't do that either.
Yeah.
Like the suspension and the belief is just gone.
It's
So,
interesting. All right, man.
music.
Oh yeah, hit it.
What have you been listening to?
Uh the old lady put on Shaky Graves in the Tesla, and now that's all it plays because it has a separate Spotify account, and I haven't changed it. Just plays that.
Yeah.
At work, I've been listening to early 2000s music
Like,
or mid 2000s music.
okay.
System of a Down,
There you go.
uh,
That'd be early 2000s.
Under Oath.
2003.
Yeah,
I mean, Toxicity came out in what, 01,
Rise
02?
Against. Like, kind of been all over the place. HBU, Daddy.
Uh, I saw Marilyn Manson live last year, so I'm kind of like back on like a little bit of a Manson kick right now, and listen to a little bit of blues as you heard earlier, and like Gil Scott. Are you gaming at all? Or you just like working yourself to death?
Yeah, pretty much just been working. I've had like trainings during the days. On my days off, I had one today. Got one next week. Um, yeah, it's been rough. I played Manor Lords again earlier today, but outside of that, I really haven't had a lot of time to sit down. So I'd like to get back into Stalker too.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed playing that so far.
it's a single player, right? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good single player
like a
though.
Chernobyl. Is it? Where's it at? Is it Russia? Or it's in like Russia Chernobyl area, right? It's like
Yeah,
Fallout.
yeah. So yeah,
I don't know if I brought it up last time. I've been playing. There's a couple different versions of Hellgate, and like I decided to purchase like the
a
worst one.
couple. There's like a bunch. I was so
Yeah,
confused when I looked that up.
yeah. And so like yeah, I locked into the worst one in the game, and I'll pay money. I will pay $100 if someone fixes this game. There is a frame.
I saw your
Uh,
video.
yeah, there's a frame drop. Like every now and then, it just like absolutely like it's
Hitches
it's the one FPS bug is what they call it. But supposedly it's due to like ray pathing, like or like early ray tracing stuff.
like a timing
That
thing or something.
Yeah, well, anytime that there's like any what's it like ambient like occlusion and like lighting and effects, like instant nuke. And you can still walk like in the 1 FPS, and then like as soon as you get like just outside of that, it'll pick back up like 400 frames, like just
Mm.
like that. But yeah, and it's the worst part is like I want to enjoy the game, so
Well, it seems like you're enjoying it when you're playing it
yeah,
because I've been watching it, and yeah, I mean, it looks again, it looks like Siege of Avalon. I still need to find that game.
it reminds me a lot of those like a lot of those old Unreal games, like Kingdoms of Avalar, Kingdoms of I can't
Amalar.
remember.
Yeah.
Amalar, that's it. Re-Reckoning, I think was the
Yeah.
remake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of that last year too.
That's it. I'm getting Siege of Avalon. It's $3.99 on GOG. The anthology.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to lock down Hellgate, like the OG edition, either pirated or see if it's on GOG or something.
Just theft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else interesting to talk about, bud.
Good.
You want to close us out?
Um, I don't have my 30 days thing anymore, and quite honestly, I don't really care to do it right now. But so it sounds like we're in agreement. Fuck TikTok. Good.
Yep.
I'm glad.
100% agree
And
with each other.
uh, yeah, I got nothing, man. I think that wraps up the episode 9 Big Sleep
We're
Podcast.
almost there. Double digits.
Double D's.
Yep. That's right when Nick starts saying the N word. Episode 10.
Just like that's the caption picture. It's just like written in.
new new podcast canceled immediately.
It's a
All right, guys. Thanks for
all
watching.
right. GG.
See you next time, you losers.